Hi, everybody. Welcome to Principles on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. Today, I invite you to our free mini workshop, The Retention Revolution. Retention is the problem that we can't ignore. Let's be real. Teacher turnover is draining our schools, especially in underperforming districts. Principals are out here trying to build something great, but when teachers keep walking out the door, how can we sustain progress? The hard truth: leadership is at the heart of the issue. That's the hard truth. The way we lead, how we listen, how we empower, and how we respond to our teachers determine whether teachers stay or whether they leave. And if we don't shift how we engage our staff, we're going to keep losing high performing educators and falling into cycles of constant rebuilding. But here's the good news. There's a better way to lead, and one that prioritizes teacher agency. It fosters the kind of collaboration that we need, and it strengthens school culture so that when challenges come, your team stays committed. So when I was assigned as principal to the lowest performing school in my district and one of the lowest performing in the entire state of Texas, my colleagues didn't know whether to congratulate me or offer their condolences. The school was struggling on every front. Student achievement was at rock bottom. The morale was non-existent, and teachers were leaving just as fast as we could hire them. It was a revolving door, and every departure, every time one leave, that was a setback where we experienced where we would just go back further. But here's the thing. Turning it all around isn't just about new curriculum, new programs, or even stricter accountability. Those things alone don't change the game. So what truly transformed our school into a hallelujah success story was how we led. Exactly. I quickly realized that if I were going to break the cycle of failure, we had to retain the right people, not just recruit them. That meant shifting from compliance-driven leadership to trust-driven leadership instead of micromanaging. I focused on empowering my teachers. I made my teachers feel that their voices were heard. It didn't matter, what they had to say, that their expertise was valued, and that they had the flexibility to make decisions and have the autonomy that and the innovation while still being held to high expectations. So, as a graduate of Prairie View A&M University and Texas Southern University, where I earned my doctorate, I learned and understood the importance of resilience and community. I took those lessons and applied them to leadership, building a culture where teachers felt supported, where they weren't just surviving, but thriving. And when that happened, the entire school transformed. So what I looked at after we had turned that school around, I reflected on what it took in order to make those changes. And I realized that there were three things. We retained our top teachers because they felt trusted, they felt heard, and they felt as though they had invested in the student's success. We created a culture of belonging where teachers didn't just show up, but they bought in. And we led with flexibility and accountability, not just demands, but meaningful engagement. That is, we weren't all uptight. We knew that we had the accountability on us, but we relaxed. We had our plan. We implemented our plan. Did we make mistakes? Absolutely, we made mistakes. So now I take those lessons and I help new principals who were just like me, walking into struggling schools with high expectations, but not always knowing where to start. So through mentorship and coaching and real strategies at work, I help them turn their schools into hallelujah success stories too. So what we're going to be looking at today with this workshop isn't about giving you another checklist or a set of top-down mandates. We're flipping the script. You will experience some real-time things that you can do as soon as you get back to your school, some interactive strategies that will help you think about what you're doing to attract and to retain your teachers. So you want to know how to retain top teachers. And you're going to do it by shifting from compliance-driven leadership to trust-driven leadership. You are going to create a school culture where teachers feel valued, where they feel heard and invested in student success. Not all of that micromanaging because people are all on your back from central administration. And you're going to learn to lead with flexibility while still holding your team accountable to high expectations. So by the time you leave today, you'll have a clear, actionable game plan to keep your best teachers engaged and build a school culture that people want to be a part of. So I remember that when I started my school, that there were some things that I needed to look at. And the first thing is that I needed to look in the mirror and I need to identify some blind spots. So, the other day, I was talking to my husband and he was saying that he had gone from the house down the block and he had almost hit 3 vehicles at 3 different occasions. He said he didn't see them. He stopped at the stop sign. He did the crosswalk. And then when he got ready to make that turn, he didn't see that car that was in that left lane. It was his blind spot. He had done everything right, but there were just some things that he didn't see. If he would have had somebody in the car or in the truck with him, they could have said, like a coach or like a mentor, hold on, don't cross now. Let's wait a minute. You have to have somebody to help you, somebody to see your blind spot. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a leadership reflection map, and all of this is just going to be given to you. And we're going to be pinpointing today moments when you unintentionally push great teachers away, or you strengthen their commitment. So we're going to break down those experiences. We're going to identify these things, and we're going to strategize how you, as the principal, can shift retention efforts from reactionary to intentional. So here's the outcome. So by the end of the workshop, you are going to leave with 3 things: a retention action plan that you can implement immediately, strategies to build trust and collaboration with your team, and a mindset shift from mandates to meaningful engagement. So you say, well, how are we going to do all of that with the mini workshop? Watch me. We're going to get this done. So your school's success is going to depend on your teachers. You realize. I remember when I was first assigned to my low performing school, I realized that my teachers, they had the will, but they didn't have the skill. They wanted to do well, they just didn't know how. So I found this workshop that was going to help them, and I prepared my package and I presented it to my superintendent, my assistant superintendent, who was my supervisor. And I made the request for my teachers to take part in this professional development. Well, the next day I received notice back that my request was denied. And, I'm new, I don't know what to do. Do I just take that and just try to come up with something else? I know my teachers need this. Am I going to just, defy my supervisor? Are they just going to send me packing because, I'm obstinate, but because I know I just have to do this. So I happened to be walking down the hallway, and one of my team leaders asked me, she said, well, did we get an approval on the professional development for our teachers? And I told her, I said, no, they denied it. They turned me down. And my teacher stood flat-footed, looked me in the eye, and she said, what are you going to do about it? Why? That's my teacher. And I understood that my school's success was going to depend on my teachers. And your teacher's decisions to stay depends on you. So I had to do something. So I called and I made an appointment with my supervisor, and I went in and I asked again to make this happen, make this professional development happen. And she told me that her answer was no, that she had met with the team. The team had decided that my request was still no. So I could hear my teacher saying, so what are you going to do about it? So what are you going to do about it? So I asked to meet with the superintendent. And it just so happened the superintendent was available. He came in and we met with the superintendent, and I made my request again, and I said, Mr. Superintendent, my teachers need this professional development, and they need it in order for us to be able, for me to meet your mandate of turning the school around. So the superintendent told me, said, well, we have a policy in place now that we have an excessive amount of teacher absences, and we have decided that we are not going to be letting our teachers go to any professional development during the school day. If there's any professional development, it's going to have to be done, on Saturday, and they're not going to miss any school time. Again, I could hear my teacher's voice saying, so what are you going to do about it? So I told my superintendent, I said, I understand your mandate, Mr. Superintendent, but I also understand the mandate that you gave me when you assigned me to this underperforming school. Your mandate was turn that school around. And the last time I checked, my school is the lowest performing school in this district. So that means that mandate of no professional development during the week does not apply to me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I did it. Because I could hear my teacher saying, so what are you going to do about it? Well, he said, well, let me think about it, and then we'll go back with it. So, I got my little stuff together, and I walked on out the door, got on the elevator, and said, well, I guess by the time I get to school, I'm going to have an email in my inbox saying you can just pack your stuff and get the heck up out of here. I walked into my office, and my secretary said that she had received a telephone call from central administration. Of course, my stomach dropped. I said, oh, Lord, have mercy. And she said, your request for professional development has been approved. I said, whew. So what are you going to do about it? I stood up for my teachers. I knew what I had to do. And what I did impacted our teacher retention. So you're going to have to think about your leadership. Think about a time when you made a decision that affected your teachers. Let's think about, what the situations were. Was it a policy change? Where, for example, you decided you wanted to adjust the faculty meeting requirements. So let's say you mandated that all faculty meetings going to be held every Thursday for 45 minutes with mandatory attendance. And teachers are going to express frustration. They're going to say that they're tired, that they have grading deadlines, and they have family responsibilities. So what kind of impact does that decision have on retention? Well, it's negative. Micromanaged and undervalued, it's leading to and increased attrition. You could take that change that you want to make, and you can have a positive alternative. You can shift to a flexible meeting model where you can incorporate asynchronous discussion, shorter in-person meetings, and teacher-led sessions to empower the staff. Let's say you come up with another new initiative. Maybe you want to implement a teacher coaching program. So here's a scenario. You launch a peer coaching program where you want to have your experienced teachers with your new staff. So instead of the traditional top-down evaluations, this initiative fosters collaboration and professional growth. So, that's pretty good. So how is that going to impact your retention? Well, it will probably make the teachers feel supported and valued, and it's going to lead to their increased job satisfaction and the culture of sharing. But remember, you can have a potential pitfall if you don't structure that well, where you're pairing mentors and mentees randomly without considering personalities and teaching styles. And by doing something like that, if you're not careful, it could lead to frustration rather than growth. You see the direction that I'm heading? Or let's say you have an instruction shift. This instructional shift has nothing to do with you. This was something that was told to you by central administration, and you have to implement it. Let's say it's moving to standards-based grading. You have nothing to do with that. And here's a scenario. The school transitions from traditional grading, the A to F based on averages, to the standards-based grading, and where students are assessed on their mastery rather than compliance with deadlines. So some teachers, of course, are going to resist the change. They're going to feel like it's removing the accountability from the students. So how is that going to impact your retention? Well, it's going to be negative, and it can be if it's poorly implemented. This is not something that you decide. This is something that came from central administration. Teachers feel the change was forced on them without an input. And this is going to lead to their resentment and potential turnover. But if you can take that as soon as you find out about it, take it to the teachers. Do your research. Make sure you understand the reasoning behind this change. Get your teachers engaged. Provide some training. Allow some flexibility in implementing this. So teachers feel their expertise is valued rather than just being dismissed. Those are the kinds of things that impact your teacher resistance. So let's think about you and the things that you do that impact your teacher retention. So when you do make a change or you are requesting something different, what's the teacher's reaction? Is there excitement? Is there resistance? Or is there indifference? You have to look in the mirror. You have to look for the blind spots. Did what you come up, did it improve teacher morale, or did it cause frustration? You're going to have to determine what leadership approach you use to cause this, these different feelings, these things that are going to impact whether teachers are going to stay or whether they're going to walk out the door. You have some options. And the first is that with your leadership approach, it could be a directive type of leadership. And this is when this is non-negotiable. but you can work on it to where people understand how important this non-negotiable is. The other type of leadership approach that you can have is collaborative, where you have a mandate, but you say, let's figure this out together. Or another leadership approach, it could be flexible. And you can make adjustments as needed, as long as outcomes remain strong. So think about the outcome of, what you are asking teachers to do. Did teachers buy in, or did they push back? Was teacher engagement and retention strengthened, or was it weakened? Or what can you do differently? Don't sit there stuck. What questions should have been asked before the decision was made? I know it's your school. I know it's your name on that door that says principal. But if teachers are constantly walking out that door, you are going to be left stuck. You cannot believe that things are going to change if you don't do things differently. What stakeholders should have been involved? How could trust have strengthened the decisions that you made? So you're looking in the mirror, you're looking at your blind spots. And these are the things that it's going to take to retain your good teachers, to attract good teachers. As the principal of several underperforming schools, by the time I got to my last school, where we exceeded expectations, over 2 years, what eventually happened is that where teachers were walking out the door, we started having teachers coming with their resumes in January, asking to be considered for a position that they heard might become available on my campus, so that they could be the first one to be considered. By doing all of these things, that's how you create a retention revolution. So what I want you to do is take the first step toward retaining your best teachers. Teacher turnover is draining our schools, but it doesn't have to be your reality. The way you lead determines whether your best teachers stay or walk out the door. It's time to shift from compliance-driven leadership to trust-driven leadership. And if you don't trust yourself and you can't trust others, you need to look in the mirror and see where your blind spot is. So you can build a school culture where educators feel valued, heard, and committed to student success. I want you to tag a principal who needs this. This is our free mini retention revolution workshop. And in the comments, I want you to drop your biggest takeaways that we talked about today in this workshop. I know that the things that I shared with you are things that work, things that I have experienced, things that the Texas Education Agency asked me to use when they assigned me to assist principals in underperforming schools throughout the state of Texas, especially in Region 5 in the state of Texas, where we got those schools turned around in a year because of all of the experience and opportunities that I had to turn schools around. And I also want you to join us on our new Principals Leadership Summit, which is going to be held next Saturday, February 22nd at 10 a.m. And if you check the comments, you can register now. Just click on that link. We've had a fabulous day today. And don't forget to leave your comments. I'm Barbara Polk, principal on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. Before we move on, let's see what comments we have. You took charge and did what was best for your campus. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success story. See you next time.